Summer 1863. America bleeds. A college professor stands on a Pennsylvania hill, holding the fate of democracy in trembling hands. His next decision will either save or destroy the United States forever. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain taught rhetoric to sleepy students just months ago. Now he commands desperate men facing Confederate bayonets. War transforms scholars into soldiers, but can intellect triumph over overwhelming Confederate force advancing uphill? Little Roundtop, barely a hill really. Farmers once grazed cattle here. Today, this rocky outcrop becomes the hinge upon which American history swings between union and permanent fracture into warring nations. You stand where Chamberlain stood. Behind you, the entire Union Army's exposed flank. Ahead, gray-clad enemies climbing toward you. Retreat means Lincoln's government falls. Fight means probable death. Choose. The 20th Maine clutches rifles with bloody fingers. These men, fishermen who've never seen mountains, farmers who've never left their counties, now bear responsibility for preserving the American experiment in democratic self-governance. This story transcends battle narratives. It reveals how ordinary humans make extraordinary choices when everything they cherish teeters on history's razor edge. Sometimes professors save nations better than generals. July 1st, Lee's Army of Northern Virginia invades Pennsylvania soil. The Confederate gamble seems brilliant. Win here, capture Philadelphia, force European recognition, end this war with Southern independence secured permanently. Robert E. Lee embodies Southern aristocratic confidence. Educated, experienced, beloved by his men. He's never lost a major battle. Today, he believes, Confederate independence becomes reality through overwhelming military victory. But destiny laughs at battle plans. Near Gettysburg, armies collide accidentally. A chance encounter between cavalry units mushrooms into the most decisive confrontation in American history. Fate chooses its own battlegrounds. Dawn, July 2nd. Chamberlain receives impossible orders. Hold the Union left flank at all costs. Military euphemism for die here rather than retreat. The professor understands. Failure dooms the Republic. Classical education serves unexpected purposes. Chamberlain studied ancient battles, Thermopylae, Cannae, Marathon. Those long-dead Greeks and Romans now whisper tactical secrets across centuries to a Maine college professor turned warrior. Brother Tom serves as Chamberlain's private, refusing promotion to avoid nepotism accusations. Blood bonds strengthen resolve. Two brothers from Brunswick, Maine, now defend American democracy on Pennsylvania granite. Family loyalty becomes national sacrifice. Confederate Colonel William Oates leads Alabama troops upward through summer heat. His men march 25 miles without water, yet climb steadily. Southern determination meets Yankee stubbornness on this contested, boulder-strewn slope. Oates matches Chamberlain, intelligent, brave, devoted to his cause. Two colonels, both fighting for principles they consider sacred. Only one vision of America will survive this afternoon's bloody reckoning. Thunder erupts across the hillside. Not weather, musket fire. Gray soldiers emerge from tree lines like specters, bayonets glinting. The first Confederate assault crashes against Maine granite, and Maine men with equal ferocity. Bodies crumple among ancient boulders. Blood seeps into Pennsylvania earth that remembers glaciers, not battles. Each fallen soldier carries someone's son, husband, father. War transforms geography into graveyards, landscapes into nightmares. Consider courage's true nature. Not fearlessness, that's insanity. Courage means acting despite terror clawing at your throat like some feral beast. Every man here tastes copper fear, yet none retreats. Ammunition dwindles with each Confederate charge. Chamberlain watches cartridge boxes emptying, knowing mathematical certainty approaches. Empty guns equal Confederate victory, equal Union Army destruction, equal Lincoln's government collapse, equal American democracy's death. Oates senses victory approaching. One more determined assault will shatter these stubborn Yankees. Alabama boys will plant Confederate flags on Little Roundtop summit, opening pathways to rolling up Union lines entirely. The professor faces every commander's nightmare. No bullets remaining, exhausted men barely standing, fresh enemy forces preparing final assault. Conventional military wisdom demands immediate retreat to preserve remaining soldiers' lives. In desperation's crucible, inspiration strikes. Ancient military histories flood Chamberlain's mind. Alexander's hammer and anvil, Caesar's tactical innovations. Sometimes audacious maneuvers succeed where conventional tactics fail completely. Sometimes professors remember crucial lessons. Fix bayonets. The command echoes across contested granite. Maine soldiers stare incredulously at their colonel. Attack? Downhill? Against superior numbers? With empty rifles? Has academic pressure finally shattered his professorial mind? Military logic screams against this decision. Exhausted defenders should retreat, not charge. Yet Chamberlain grasps deeper truth. Retreat here means Union Army destruction. Better die advancing than live with democracy's collapse. The regiment pivots like a closing door. Right companies hold position while left companies wheel downhill. Geometry becomes tactics, mathematics becomes salvation. The professor applies classroom theory to battlefield reality. Witness this incredible scene. Union soldiers streaming downward, steel bayonets catching afternoon light, voices raised in primal war cries that would terrify ancient Vikings. Desperation transforms into supernatural fury and determination. Alabamians expect retreating Yankees. Instead, screaming Maine fishermen charge directly into their ranks with naked steel. Psychological shock achieves what bullets couldn't: complete enemy disorganization and growing panic among Confederate soldiers. Oates later writes, "Chamberlain's charge was the most surprising maneuver I witnessed in 4 years of war." High praise from a professional soldier who fought from Bull Run to Appomattox across countless battlefields. Surprise accomplishes miracles. Confederates, expecting easy victory over retreating enemies, instead face howling demons charging downhill with bayonets fixed. Psychology trumps tactics. Alabama soldiers break ranks, fleeing toward distant safety. The impossible gamble succeeds. Union left flank holds firm. Army of the Potomac remains intact for tomorrow's fighting. Confederate invasion reaches its furthest northern penetration, then begins irreversible retreat toward Virginia. Victory's price: 130 Maine casualties in 20 minutes of fighting. Nearly half the regiment bled on Pennsylvania granite. Success measured in preserved democracy, paid for with shattered bones and spilled blood. Tom Chamberlain falls wounded, bullet creasing his chest. Joshua kneels briefly beside his bleeding brother, then returns to command as Confederate sharpshooters continue firing. Leadership requires heartbreaking choices between family and duty. War teaches professors harsh lessons. Command means selecting who lives, who dies, who suffers for principles. Academic theories become life and death decisions. The weight of such choices haunts decent men forever afterward. Evening shadows creep across blood-soaked Gettysburg. Chamberlain moves among wounded soldiers, offering comfort his colonel's insignia can provide. These brave men gave everything for Lincoln's vision of democratic government and human equality. What drives ordinary people toward extraordinary sacrifice? These Maine fishermen and farmers understood instinctively. Democracy itself hung in balance. Sometimes simple men grasp profound truths better than sophisticated politicians and generals. Battle's outcome remains uncertain. Lee commands formidable forces for tomorrow's fighting. July 3rd will bring Pickett's legendary charge, Confederacy's final, desperate attempt to shatter Union resolve and achieve Southern independence through force. Yet Chamberlain's stand preserved Union Army integrity for that climactic confrontation. Without successful defense here, July 3rd's decisive battle might never have occurred. Sometimes small actions enable great victories elsewhere. History's irony. A college professor succeeded where trained soldiers might have failed. Classical education, not West Point instruction, provided tactical inspiration for this war's most crucial defensive stand. Knowledge conquered ignorance. Chamberlain embodies democratic ideals perfectly, citizen soldiers defending principles they hold sacred. Professional armies serve rulers, volunteer armies serve causes. Democracy depends on citizens willing to risk everything for abstract ideals. Ancient Greeks whispered tactical secrets across centuries to this Maine professor. Thermopylae's lessons applied to Pennsylvania granite. Classical education proved unexpectedly practical when democracy faced its gravest existential threat in American history. War ends. Professor returns to peaceful Bowdoin College, serving as president for 12 productive years. Yet Little Roundtop remains his defining moment, the afternoon when intellect and courage preserved American constitutional government. 6 battle wounds mark Chamberlain's body permanently. Physical scars heal, psychological burdens endure forever. Sending men to die for principles creates invisible wounds that torture commanders long after wars end completely. July 2, 1863, turning point in American democratic experiment. Not just military victory, but ideological triumph. Constitutional government, human equality, representative democracy, all preserved by one professor's desperate tactical gamble. Gettysburg defeat begins Confederate decline. Lee's invasion, designed to secure Southern independence, instead accelerates Union victory. Sometimes military campaigns achieve exactly opposite results from those originally intended by commanding generals. Imagine alternative history: Union Army destroyed, Washington defenseless, Lincoln forced to negotiate Confederate independence. Slavery preserved permanently. Democracy confined to northern states. America divided forever between competing political systems and moral visions. Chamberlain's decision ripples through generations. Stone dropped in historical pond creates expanding circles of consequence. Preserving Union enables Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement, modern American democratic institutions. Envision permanently divided America, industrial North versus agricultural South, democratic ideals versus aristocratic traditions, wage labor versus chattel slavery. One professor's courage prevented this dystopian alternative from becoming permanent historical reality. The bayonet charge prevented national fracture. Tactical brilliance preserved constitutional framework, enabling America's moral evolution, from slavery to freedom, from exclusion to inclusion, from imperfect union toward more perfect democracy. Confederate bullets remained in Chamberlain's body until death in 1914. Physical reminders of democracy's price, carried internally for 51 years. Some sacrifices leave permanent marks on those who serve. Chamberlain returned often to Little Roundtop, walking among granite monuments marking where his men fell. Memory transformed battlefields into sacred spaces. Geography becomes theology when democracy is born through bloodshed. The hill remembers everything. Visitors sense invisible weight of decisions made here. Stones witness democracy's closest brush with destruction. Sometimes landscape holds historical memory better than human consciousness does. Every democracy faces such moments, citizens choosing between safety and sacrifice, comfort and principle. Chamberlain chose sacrifice, preserving Union for generations unborn. Sometimes individuals alter history's trajectory through single courageous decisions. His example transcends 1863. Every generation produces citizens who risk everything defending democratic principles. Freedom requires constant vigilance, occasional sacrifice. Democracy depends on such ordinary heroes performing extraordinary deeds. The professor understood liberty's fragility. Freedom isn't natural condition but precious achievement requiring active protection. Complacency kills democracies, vigilance preserves them. Sometimes college teachers grasp this truth better than professional politicians. Medal of Honor recognized Chamberlain's heroism officially. Yet he valued more highly democracy's preservation, enabling millions of future Americans to live in united nation rather than fractured, competing republics forever divided. Count democracy's beneficiaries. Every American born since 1863 lived in a united nation because Maine professor made impossible choice on Pennsylvania hilltop. Individual courage enables collective freedom across generations of grateful citizens. Gettysburg continued one more day, but July 2nd determined ultimate outcome. Confederate high tide peaked at Little Roundtop, then receded permanently toward Virginia. Chamberlain's stand marked democracy's survival and Confederate hope's destruction. Tactical brilliance saved more lives than it cost. Preserving Union Army shortened war's duration, reducing casualties on both sides. Sometimes aggressive defense proves more humanitarian than passive resistance or cowardly retreat. Returning to Maine, Chamberlain carried memories shaping American historical scholarship for decades. His detailed battle accounts became foundational texts. Participant historians often understand events better than distant academic observers do. Yet something haunted him forever. Knowledge that split-second battlefield decisions echo through centuries of American development. Command's burden, understanding how individual choices affect millions of lives across generations of democratic evolution. Death came February 24, 1914, last Civil War veteran serving as state governor. Little Roundtop remained his proudest achievement. The afternoon when college professor saved American constitutional democracy from destruction. Modern visitors climb identical rocky slopes where desperate men made history's most crucial stand. Ancient granite boulders still bear bullet scars from Confederate rifles. Geography preserves memory when human recollection fades. Chamberlain's true monument isn't carved granite, but living democracy itself. United States preserved by refusing retreat when retreat seemed rational. Sometimes the greatest memorials are invisible institutions rather than visible stones. Democratic survival depends not on grand gestures, but countless individual decisions, choosing duty over comfort, principle over expediency. The professor understood. Freedom requires citizens willing to sacrifice everything for abstract ideals. Every American democracy since 1863 benefits from Chamberlain's Little Roundtop decision. Constitutional framework preserved enables continued evolution toward justice, equality, representative government. Individual courage creates collective possibilities across historical epochs. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain proved democracy's essential truth. Ordinary citizens can meet extraordinary challenges when principles they cherish face existential threats. Sometimes professors possess courage that professional soldiers lack entirely.